Hey, what's going on, guys? Coming at you with an updated deck profile post-emergency ban list, and today I'll be showing you guys my Monarchs. So starting off, we have the triple idea, the 2 Eidos, and the 1 Mithra for the Vassals. I did cut Eidos down to 2, simply because it's not a card that you really like drawing. It's more of a card that you want to summon off of Idea and then use its graveyard effect to bring back Idea or even a Mithra. So that's why I did cut it down to 2. And then Mithra is just really good because if it's in your hand, you can just spell summon it for free, basically. And then its effect to give you an extra tribute summon does stuck around things like Valor, since it gives you the effect when it's tributed, whereas Eidos, it activates when it's normal or subtle summon. So that's why I personally like running the 1 Mithra over, say, the 3rd Eidos. Then we have the triple Aether and the triple Erebus, the 2 Kuraz. I personally really like Kuraz because it's the best monster to really summon off of Aether, especially on the opponent's turn. It's even good, if it's on your own, if you're, say going first, just to gain advantage. I especially like using Kuraz, the pop itself, and a return, to where you'll get the search off return and then destroy Kuraz and return, so you'll get a total of 3 cards out of that play. And really, Kuraz is the only decent monster, I think, that you can actually summon off of Aether, unless you're going for, say, extra damage on your turn. So that's why I personally like running the 2, because it's just so good to summon off of Aether, whether on your turn or your opponent's turn, to either give yourself advantage or what I like doing on the opponent's end, on the end of the opponent's main phase when they declare they're ending their turn. Use Aether's effect to summon itself, summon Kuraz, pop 2 of their cards. They'll still draw 2 cards, but since they declared they're ending their turn, they won't really be able to do anything with the cards they drew. Then we have the 1 Phystalos. For space reasons, I had to cut this down to 1. Plus, I didn't really like seeing multiples of it, which I did sometimes with running it at 2. So I think 1's just fine, especially when you consider that Erebus has a similar effect that can snipe a card out of the hand, well, a random card. So I feel like the 1 Phystalos is fine, since I've run the free Erebus. Then for the final monster, we have the 2 Majesty's Fiend. For spells, we have the triple Dominion. I feel like even with Pepe being as crippled as they are with the new emergency ban list, I still feel like free Dominion is important, for the fact that it's still an important engine card for you. Being able to reduce one of your Mega Monarchs down by 2 levels is very important to make sure that you can actually summon a Monarch on like, say, your first turn. The 800 boost they get when attacking a monster is also pretty good as well. And then I still feel like even with this emergency ban list, there's still going to be a good bit of pendulum-based decks floating around. A lot of people are going to be trying out Draco Pals, like Performa Pal Magicians, Odd Eyes Magicians. I feel like those decks will still be pretty relevant. Plus, I feel like with Pepe not being as strong, you could definitely see the emergence of some of the lower tier decks, like, say, Satellar Knights and Burning Abyss. So Dominion will be pretty good for those matchups to just lock them out of their extra deck. Next, we have the Free Pantheism, probably the best card in the deck because it's a Destiny draw that also is a Noble Knight Pores in your graveyard. Of course, being able to reveal the 3 Monarch Spell or Trap cards and get 1 to your hand. Then we have the Free Tenacity to search out any of our Monarch Spell and Traps. The free Stormforth. Then for one of Monarch spells, we have the 1 March and the 1 Return. I was highly considering actually adding a 2nd Return, just because, again, with Kuraz, I actually really like seeing this card, my opening hand going first, but I just really couldn't find the room for it. A lot of people have been cutting a March to make room for like a 2nd or even a 3rd Return, but I personally still like March in the main deck. Because Cosmo, they'll still have a lot of targeting effects and destruction effects that will try to get over your Monarchs. So March is a good card to have to lock them out of doing that. If you have this up in the mirror match against Monarchs, of course, really the only out they'll have will be, like, say, an Erebus or any other kind of just regular spot removal to get rid of March. So I personally still like the 1 March, and it is an easy side out if it's set against a certain matchup. Then we have the free Upstart Goblin. I added this in here for extra consistency to make sure I don't brick as much. Even with 12 tribute summons that I was playing in my previous build, I still did find that there was a decent amount of times where I would open with a brick hand without a tribute summon monster. I've had a couple times too where I've opened with a hand of all tribute summon monsters and none of the little guys to make those plays go off. So I add the Upstart Goblins in here just to try to boost consistency and reduce the amount of brick hands. Then for one of spells, we have the 1 Foolish, 1 1 for 1, and then finally the 1 Reinforcement of the Army. For traps, we have the 2 Prime Monarch and the 1 Escalation. I reduced Prime Monarch down to 2 simply because it's not a card that you really like to draw as much. And also, there's really no use for having 3 Prime in the graveyard because of the fact that it can only summon itself once per turn. So at least with 2, you can actually summon 1 on your turn and then summon 1 on your opponent's turn if you need to. But with 3, you kind of end up having a dead one there that you're not really going to get off, really. So that's why I like the 2. The on-field effect is pretty cool if you can resolve it, but I personally haven't resolved it that much, so that's part of why I reduced it down to 2, just so I wouldn't see it as much. I mostly just like dumping off of Erebus and Aether. And then we have the 1 Escalation because there's a good bit of Monarchs in here that I don't mind summoning on the opponent's turn to try to stun their plays. Things like Erebus, Kuraz if I have it in hand, Majesty's Fiend, even Phystalos if they are going for a search play. So that's why I personally like having the 1 Escalation, just to be able to summon on their turn. So that's it for main deck. Total of 40 cards. It's 17 monsters, 20 spells, and 3 traps. Now on to the side deck. So starting off, we have the 2 Battle Fader. This is in here for the Cosmo matchup, just to make sure you don't get OTK'd. Pretty much shuts them down their tracks since they won't be able to get their Farm Girl search. They won't be able to get any kind of pluses off of Dark Destroyer or anything like that. It also gives you a monster on board, the Tribute Summon on your turn. Then we have the 2 Bandy's Fiend. This is a good side-in for Majesty's Fiend if you're going against a Pendulum-based matchup, or if, say, you're going against Fluffles. So that's why I still do side of 2 Bandies. Then we have the free Twin Twister. Obviously good for Mask and Restrict, good for Anti-Spell Fragrance if you draw it when that's flipped. It's also good for like any other back row heavy base matchup. Then we have the 1 Book of Eclipse and 1 Raigeki. This is mostly for if you're going second and you have a feeling that your opponent can possibly make a board that will be hard to get over. Raigeki and Book of Eclipse are good for that. Especially Eclipse, since it gets around any kind of non-targeting base effects like the Cosmos ships. Also gets around March of the Monarchs as well. So that's why Book of Eclipse especially is pretty good. Then we have the 2 Breakthrough skill. As I said in the last video, I prefer this over Valor just because you get the second effect negation that you can use on your turn, which is especially relevant in the mirror match if they try to Aether you on your turn. Then we have the 2 Chaos Strap Hole. I really like this going forward into this new format post-emergency ban list because most of the annoying monsters out there are going to be light and dark. Pretty much all the main Monarch monsters are light and dark. All the Cosmo monsters are light and dark. Satellar's, Burning Abyss. Even a lot of the Pendulum-based monsters are light and dark as well. So Chaos Trap Hole is just good for stopping the summon and also banishing them, which means that in the mirror you won't be sending something to grave that can get its effect in grave. And also against Cosmo, you won't be triggering their ships. Against, well, actually, if you negate the summon, you wouldn't be triggering his ships. But say against Burning Abyss with Dante, you wouldn't be triggering Dante's effect like Solemn Warning would. Then for the final side card, we had the 2 Royal Decree. Again, for those back row heavy matchups like Stellar Knights and Burning Abyss, especially if you're going first. So that is it for this updated deck profile for Monarch's post-emergency ban list. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time.